Okay, take one. This is the beginning of the oil change for 2004 Mazda Miata. This is actually Mazda Mazdaspeed, but I believe it's the same on all other Mazdas of this NB generation. I'm shooting this with a handheld cell phone, and you'll see why a little later, just to give you a view of the oil filter. First off, what you got to do is change the oil, and you got to get the car up on jacks. Jack stands would be best. What we did is we used the hydraulic jack under the middle here and raised the car up a little bit and put her up on to wait for the aperture. Then we put jack stands underneath the subframe, and I also made a little wooden block that's not really in the load path right now, but it's just as a little safety. Just because I'm cautious. Before you jack any car up, you got to keep it from rolling. So what I did is I put a couple wheel chocks on both sides of the wheel. A little handmade wheel chocks. I don't know if you can see the back one, but there's two wheel chocks back there. Okay. The rest of the stuff that you're going to need to change the oil is fairly straightforward. You're going to need an oil filter. Here I'm using a Purelator. Everybody has their favorite brand. I'm partial to Purelator. I remember seeing as a kid them cut up, and it had a really high quality internal element. Of course, that was a long time ago. They may have changed, but again, I'm still brand loyal. We're going to go with some Mobil 1 oil, synthetic oil for this particular application. Okay, first thing we're going to do is, that was the overview. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to try and change the oil filter, and we'll show you that next. The oil filter is a little bit of a challenge to get at in the Miata because it's underneath this intake manifold below. So I'm going to do that next. I'm going to try and visually show you what the oil filter looks like. I'm going to try and take the camera down and tilt it in there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. There you go. It's somewhere in there against the block. Gonna have to twist and turn. But if I can get my cell phone in there, you can get your hand in there. Okay, to remove the filter, what we're going to use is a couple of tools. Two tools to be specific. This is what our oil filter looks like. We're going to buy this. We bought this Fram brand little socket wrench. You see it's got a little square drive in it, and that square drive handily fits in this ratchet. This ratchet's a little unique in that it's swivels, so even if if we're up against the block, we'll be able to rotate it. It's a few dollars more than a conventional ratchet, but if you don't have one of these things, I recommend you get one. They're really handy. Okay, so those are the tools. We're going to try and start using them. Hang on. Okay, and this is an update on the oil filter progress. As I started off, I was planning on using this system right here. Well, the advantage of that is this particular socket mated properly with this particular oil filter. When we tried to mate it to the oil filter that was on the car, this is again a purchase car that I just bought not long ago, this particular socket didn't fit. So what I had to do was use this thing called a strap wrench. Strap wrench, if you've not used one, is it's kind of simple. As you go to remove it, what happens is the little loop gets tighter and tighter, and it grabs a hold of the diameter. I don't know if you can see that, but as it gets twisted, the loop gets smaller, grabs a hold of the body and turns it. This particular one, if you want to go this route, has a little joint in it. And it's very handy. You just reach in there. You have to do a little bit by feel. You put your hand in there, you feel where the oil filter is. You put this thing over top of it, and you position it as high as you can, and you turn it, and it rotates the thing right off. It really wasn't very hard at all. If you use a little bit of faith in your own ability to work blind with your eyes closed, you'll be amazed at how easy it is for you to do. Perhaps what I'll do is reenact it with the new filter underneath so you can see what it is. I'll put the camera down there to see what the position looks like. Okay? I should have mentioned, before you install the new filter, what you should do is take your finger and put a little bit of oil around this new gasket, just so it doesn't stick to the housing. I'm sure you seasoned oil changing people out there already know that little trick, but if you're doing this for the first time, that's what you want to do. Okay, now this is kind of a reenactment of what it looks like with a wrench on the filter. What I'm going to do is take my little cell phone and feed it down into the engine compartment, kind of wiggle it around, and so you can kind of get a look at what the strap wrench style oil filter wrench looks like on the housing. Again, I'm doing this blind also, so I'm going to wiggle the phone around so I get all the different kinds of angles. So hopefully it'll capture the view that'll show you exactly what's going on. I believe it should show you where the wrench is, and it should show you a little bit where the filter is and what it looks like. And what you'll end up doing is rotating that wrench to pull to turn it in the counterclockwise direction to loosen it. Hopefully that's enough footage that shows you what the oil filter looks like with the strap wrench. Okay? I just tried to reenact the filter removal using this type of socket, and guess what? I couldn't wiggle it on there. It's because the actual ratchet head is too thick, and it won't let you fit between the filter and the frame rail. So this is a preferable way of removing the oil filter, as a matter of fact, because although it looks as thick as the ratchet, what this filter wrench allows you to do is to kind of go to kind of rotate it on and to fit it in between the gap fairly easily. And it's pretty easy to use once you get the hang of knowing how to rotate it. Okay, there you go. I'm going to finish tightening the filter, and then we'll be moving to the oil part. Everyone, I've kind of done this oil change a little bit out of order. I've started with the oil filter first because it's the first time I've changed it on this car, and it was a little bit of a challenge. Now we're going to do the other part, which is remove the old oil. For this, I've enlisted some help from an assistant here. Okay, we're trying to identify, first off, before we go too far, let's identify where the oil's coming from the oil pan, and there's a plug on the very bottom. Before you loosen any plug, what you want to do is put the pan right underneath it. Okay, and my assistant here is going to remember to turn it counterclockwise, right?
Yep.
Now the last time this was done was by the previous owner at the dealership, and I don't know how tight that is.
Too tight for me.
Alright, so I'm going to go out there and help him, and we'll show you that footage in a minute. Recording. Where is it? Is it on?
Okay.
Okay, it's on. What we're going to do is, wow, that is, well, they're pretty good. Tighter than I typically install an oil plug. And what you do is you crack it loose. Now, this engine oil isn't hot. Some people believe you should have the engine oil hot for you to remove it. Now, I like it cold because it's all drained out to the bottom of the pan. I don't have to wait for it to come back from the lifters. Okay, that's just my opinion. And what we've done is waiting for the oil to come out. Now, when a coil's got some head pressure to it, so it's going to squirt out, so you want to be able to compensate for it, and then as it starts to drip less and less, you're going to want to move the pan to be directly underneath, and we'll wait for it to drain all out. The problem with draining it cold is it may take a little bit while longer because it moves a little slower because it's not hot. Okay, Hunter, you can turn that off for right now, and we'll... Okay, we've nearly got the last drop out of the oil. You don't have to get every last drop out, but when you're near the end, just put the plug in, and Sorry, I'm using my right hand. Tighten it back up. Use your 17 millimeter. Wasn't it 17 millimeter, Hunter?
Yes, 17 millimeters.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hand it to me? The 17 millimeter wrench.
Okay. You have it right there.
I've got it. Thank you. And lefty loosey, righty tighty.
Where's the steering thing?
You want it on good, but not so good that you can't get it off, or that's going to strip the plug. I should also mention that when the plug's off, you need to inspect the gasket to make sure it's in good shape. We cleaned up whatever little bit of oil with some rags that have dripped off, and we're ready to add oil. Okay, what's the volume of oil we're going to put in here, Hunter?
With the oil filter, that would be 4 gallons, and
Gallons?
I think so. Quarts.
4 quarts. Yes, 4 quarts.
And then 3.8 quarts without.
Okay, and we'll fill that in on the top in a minute here. What you want to do is you want to add oil to the car, and the oil gets added to the car. Top of the valve cover. This one happens to have a fancy schmancy cap. Alright, my assistant here is going to remove the cap and put the funnel.
Okay, hold this for a sec.
Certainly. Put the cap somewhere safe. The funnel. And you're going to get your first quart, which... Alright, ready? Let me just carefully pour the oil into the engine. Self-explanatory. Okay, the only thing that was really tricky, as you saw, was the oil filter. Okay, now, and all the other stuff is the safety things that we really didn't cover, only in the most rudimentary form, and how to jack up a car, and how to jack it and jack stand it properly. And there's probably other locations where you can go to find that if you need that sort of help. Signing off for now. 3 more quarts and we're done. Bye-bye.